3. The excretion of a quadruped being bearing the name Kesmaral. 4. A specially prepared what is called mercury amalgam. When these bamboos had been thoroughly soaked, they were inserted one by one into other thicker bamboos which had not been prepared in the said manner, and the ends of which were hermetically sealed. These latter preparations were of course also made in absolute darkness, or in the orange light of Simkalash. Later, when these soaked bamboos were necessary for the experiment, one end of the thicker, unsoaked bamboo was inserted in a special way into the mentioned bore, drilled right through the large ball of the Riank Pokartarts, and opened by a small hook fixed to a thin stick by means of which the soaked bamboo could be moved at any speed desired. Now the action of the said liquid, in which the bamboo was soaked, was such that the part of the soaked bamboo on which the colored ray coming directly from the Lusochepana, or after being reflected from the cavity of the lower, smaller ball, fell, was instantly permanently dyed the same color as that ray which had fallen onto it. The uncovered places of these bamboos soaked in the said manner were dyed the colors also corresponding to the sound vibrations which touched them, and which were obtained from what are called strings, which were on the middle of the apparatus called djenvok. This djenvok consisted of a very strong frame of special form, made from the tusks of mammoths, on which there were stretched many strings of various lengths and thicknesses, made partly from the twisted what are called goat's intestines, and partly from the tail hairs of beings there of various exterior forms. "Tell me, please, my dear grandfather, what is a mammoth?" asked Hussein. "A mammoth," replied Beelzebub, "is a two-brained being. In the beginning it also bred on your planet, and had, in comparison with other beings there of all brain systems, a large exterior form. This kind of being also became a victim of the consequences of that large piece broken off from the planet Earth and now called Moon, which is now an independent, as I expressed it, planetary upstart of this solar system ores, and the chief bearer of evil to this ill-fated planet of yours. The point is that when the atmosphere of this small planetary upstart began to be formed and became gradually harmonized, great winds arose in the atmosphere of the planet Earth, owing to which several regions of its surface, you remember I've already spoken about this to you, were buried with sand. Moreover, at this time snow constantly fell in what are called the north and south polar regions of its atmosphere, and all the depressions of the surface of these north and south polar terra firma regions were covered by these falls of snow. The beings of this exterior form used to breed on the mentioned regions of the terra firma surface of your planet, and during these unprecedented, as it is said there, snowstorms, they were all also buried by snow, and since then this species of beings has never again been re-established there. It is interesting to notice that at the present time there, in these depressions formerly covered with snow, and which were later covered with kashiman, that is, with those substances which in general form on the surface of terra firma regions what is called soil, there are sometimes still found now even well-preserved planetary bodies of these mammoths. These planetary bodies of mammoths have been so well preserved for such a long time because these snows were then very soon after covered with kashiman, and thus there obtained the condition of isoliaxoclanes, that is, as your favorites would say, the condition of a hermetically closed sphere, in which these planetary bodies of mammoths have never since been exposed, as is said there, to decomposition. That is to say, the active elements of which these planetary bodies are in general formed have not completely evolved back to their prime origin. And so, my boy, the astonishing apparatus a la Atapan, which I described, demonstrated that all the three mentioned transitory results of cosmic processes not only manifest themselves alike in their inner manifestations, but they are also formed from the same factors. By means of this apparatus, it was possible to verify and be convinced that in each of the mentioned three transitory results ensuing from common cosmic processes, and which have nothing in common outwardly with each other, there not only proceeds exactly similar what are called mutual actions ensuing one from the other and forming one common functioning, and that in the sense of the evolutionary and involutionary particularities of the law of Heptaparaparshinokh, the action of each separate intermediary stage in one general functioning influences the action of each separate intermediary stage in another, exactly as in its own. But also, that according to the particularities of the properties of the vibrations which compose their aggregate, these transitory cosmic results have complete affinity. This complete affinity in the inner mutual relations of these three transitory results, which have outwardly nothing in common with each other, was proved in the following way. For instance, a corresponding colored ray directed upon any active element of opium transformed it into another active element which corresponded in its newly acquired vibrations to the vibrations of the colored ray which had acted on the given active element. The same result was obtained if instead of these colored rays, corresponding sound vibrations of the strings of the Zenvoch were directed upon this same active element. Further, if any colored ray were made to pass through any active element of opium, then passing through it, this same ray took on another color, namely that color the vibrations of which corresponded to the vibrations of this active element. Or if any colored ray were made to pass through the manifested what are called wave of sound vibrations, still acting at the given moment from any corresponding string of the Zenvoch, then passing through this wave, it took on another color corresponding to the vibrations manifested by means of the given string. Or finally, if a definite colored ray and definite sound vibration from the strings were simultaneously directed upon any active element of opium from among those composing this Polormadectian product, and which had a smaller number of vibrations than the totality of vibrations of the colored ray and of the said sound, then this active element was transformed into such another active element of opium, the number of whose vibrations exactly corresponded to the totality of the numbers of the said two different caused vibrations, and so on and so forth. This incomparable experimental apparatus likewise demonstrated that all the higher vibrations of one result always give the direction to all the lower vibrations of other transitory cosmic results.